Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to Andy's Reviews, and today we are going to be reviewing Despicable Me 4, directed by Chris Durand, and starring the likes of Steve Carell, Kristen Wig, Will Ferrell, Sofia Vergara, and a whole bunch of other actors. Let's get into it. Before we even begin discussing this movie, I just have to say that this movie is a complete waste of your time and hard-earned money. I recommend you guys not to go to the theaters to watch this movie, but rather wait a couple of weeks to watch this online for $20. And honestly, don't spend your money on this movie. And yeah, let's get into the review. And of course, the first main thing that I thoroughly enjoyed about this movie has to be the amazing characters in this movie. As we already know, this movie has like 6 movies in the entire franchise, where the main characters are Gru, played by Steve Carell, Lucy, played by Kristen Wig, and a whole bunch of others, the kids as well. And honestly, all of the characters in this franchise, including the minions, are absolutely phenomenal and memorable and do pack some good laughs here and there. And honestly, all the characters in this movie and the franchise in general are absolutely incredible and deserve a shout out in today's video. And of course, the second main thing that I thoroughly enjoyed about this movie has to be the amazing animation that Illumination was able to incorporate in this film. As we already know, Illumination makes very, very good CG realistic characters, but it still doesn't compare to Pixar. But honestly, Illumination did an amazing job with the colors and vibrant color palettes of this movie. I especially love the way that Pixar was able to create a new city, which we get to visit. They even created their own type of New York, where we see the Mega Minions rescue people in the city of the so-called New York City. And honestly, the animation in this movie was absolutely incredible and deserves a shout out in today's video. And of course, the third main thing that I thoroughly enjoyed about this movie has to be the fact that this movie built upon the world of the Minions and Despicable Me and Gru in general. And honestly, in this movie, we end up seeing the school that Gru went to when he was a kid and actually taught him how to be a villain. And honestly, that castle or school was absolutely incredible in this movie. I especially love the way that in the beginning of the movie, we get to see Gru driving a super sports car as he races to this so-called castle, aka school. And honestly, I thoroughly enjoy that setting. And I also enjoy the setting of New York City ripoff in this movie. And yeah. And of course, the third main thing that I thoroughly enjoyed about this movie has to be all the new characters that were introduced in this movie. Some of the new voice cast members in this movie have to be the likes of Will Ferrell, who ended up playing the villain in this movie, whose name I forgot. And of course, Sofia Vergara, who played the wife of this villain. Honestly, these two were amazing additions to the overall cast of this movie. And honestly, they really did an awesome job given the script that they were given. And honestly, I would say that the villains of this movie were quite memorable, but not as memorable as the other villains, such as El Macho. And honestly, yeah, that's all I have to say about the pros. However, of course, that doesn't necessarily mean that this movie is without flaws. One of the things that I do not like about this movie has to be the fact that this movie's plot is all over the place. Literally, this movie has about 5 plot lines that carry the entire plot of this movie. And considering that this movie is short, basically all the plot lines are very, very underdeveloped and don't even reach a satisfying conclusion by the end of the movie. For example, there's this one plot line where we get to see Kristen Wig's character of Lucy becoming a hairstylist and actually ended up burning someone's hair and running away from them from the supermarket. And honestly, that plot was completely useless. And I would say that most of the characters in this movie barely did anything to contribute to the plot of this movie. And yeah, honestly, I also hated the plot line with the Mega Minions. Honestly, the Mega Minions just got powers, saved a couple of people in a very, very bad way, and defeated the villain of the movie within 3 seconds of them showing up to the final battle, which I found to be very quite annoying and a massive letdown to the concept of the Mega Minions. And yeah. And of course, the second main thing that I do not like about this movie has to be the fact that this movie really has the worst villains in the entire Despicable Me and Minion franchise. Honestly, the villains played by both Will Ferrell and Sofia Vergara were absolutely horrendous. They really had no villainous tone to them. They just wanted to steal Gru's baby for almost the entirety of the movie. And honestly, they wanted to turn Gru's baby into a cockroach, which was very interesting, but horrible at the same time. And don't even get me started on the cockroach design in this movie. Honestly, cockroaches are nasty in my opinion. And I am extremely confident that Illumination did a horrible job coming up with a very kid-friendly design for a cockroach that didn't feel disgusting. And honestly, I was grossed out various times throughout the movie as to the villain's design, who has a cockroach for a body. And yeah, honestly, the villains were horrible. The worst in the entire franchise. Honestly, I prefer the villain from Despicable Me 3, aka this guy. And honestly, this has to be the worst movie in the entire Despicable Me franchise. And of course, the third main thing that I do not like about this movie has to be the fact this movie only exists to get money for the companies, honestly. As we already know, Minions The Arrested Gru ended up generating more than $1 billion about 2 years ago, and honestly, this movie only exists to make more money, and I honestly feel that Illumination is squeezing every single dollar and penny out of this franchise and actually killing the amazingness of the characters and the idea and concept of the Minions. Honestly, they're just trying to milk out the franchise, print out as much money as possible, and sell as much merchandise as possible, which was something I really didn't appreciate about this movie. And yeah. And of course, the fourth main thing that I did not like about this movie has to be the fact this movie barely has any jokes that stick the landing, or actually, to be completely honest with you, I laughed 0 times throughout this entirety of the movie, and I honestly feel that the comedy in this movie is getting quite repetitive and very uninteresting and unique. To be completely honest with you, this movie is by far the worst movie in the franchise of Despicable Me in terms of comedy, plot, and action. Honestly, the movie is quite generic. It has a very predictable plot, and honestly, the very bad jokes in the movie did not help it whatsoever. And honestly, I feel that Illumination is running out of ideas with jokes with the Minions. And yeah. Well, there you have it. When it comes to placing this movie on the Angie's Reviews grading system, I have to say that this movie deserves roughly 4 out of 10 chimichangas, a rewatchability score of never ever in a million years, and of course an overall grade of a D+. Well, there you have it. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Andy Talks About Movies way too much. And feel free to drop a comment down below letting me know your thoughts about this movie. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the like button to help out with the YouTube algorithm. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.